Hi again guys, it's Slobs, trying to stumble my way through another deck profile, and this time it's Infernities. So Infernities are a 5Ds era archetype, which have got a pretty cool kind of no-hand mechanic. They've had splashes of relevancy over their time, and even Willing Worlds when XYZs were the main master rule. So there's a few different variations that you can take the deck. Dark Warrior is one of them, what I've tried. XYZ spamming. I've opted in this deck profile to go for a Synchro / Link spam variant, which is kind of based on one that I've seen from Starjust YuGiOh. So let's jump right into it and get first to the monsters. Alright, so first we've got 3 Infernity Necromancer. So he's a special summon from the graveyard. If you control no cards in hand, a bit like all of the other Infernity monsters effects activate when you've got no cards in hand. You could opt to play 2 of him. He's always nice to see though, and he's a really great extender. From there we've got 2 Infernity Mirage, and I was playing 3 of this, but the thing is, if you open a few of them, and again I hate saying you want to see it but you don't want to see too much of them, but it does nothing on its own without the setup, the required setup. So you contribute it, and then you can special summon 2 Infernity monsters in your graveyard, and that's not a once per turn effect, not like any of the Infernity cards actually, which is really what makes them busted. So then a few one-offs. We've got Infernity Patriarch, which is a special summon from the hand if he's the only one there. He's a relatively newer one, but a great extender and definitely worth the one-off. Infernity Avenger, which is basically just the tuner. He does have an effect, but it rarely comes up, and it's basically just the fact that he's a tuner that I'm playing him. He's also got a really cool artwork. And then finally, the one of Infernity Archfiend. So Archfiend is your searcher for the deck, and again, he's not a once per turn, which makes him truly busted. He is limited, but I'm not really sure you'd end up playing any more if he wasn't. I just think that you don't really want to see him that much. I mean, again, if you got unlimited, we should obviously have a different, maybe slightly different build. So from there, the kind of Fiend support, we've got 3 Stygian Street Patrol. So this is, you can banish it from your graveyard, especially from the Fiend from the hand. Just an excellent extender. You kind of want to see it all the time. It's great discard fodder. It's great extension fodder. And again, that's not a once per turn, which is great. And then normal summon is Tour Guide from the Underworld. Puts 2 bodies on board, which is good for getting started. And that the target for that is normally Fiendish Warrior Rhino. So when he's sent to the graveyard, you can send another Fiend type monster to the graveyard. So again, Tour Guide then becomes 2 bodies on board and a dump, which is excellent. So a main target for Fiendish Warrior Rhino, or I suppose you could go for Tour Guide from the Underworld, is Archfiend Heiress. So if she's sent to the graveyard because of a card effect, you can add an Archfiend card from your hand, and that is Infernity Archfiend. So you can pluck the Archfiend out when you need it. From there, we've got some danger support. So that's 2 Mothman, 2 Chupacabra. The level 4s are pretty decent because we're playing number 60 in the extra deck, so that's pretty useful. Mothman's probably the better of the 2. You kind of want to start with Mothman and then hit the Chupacabra if later on when you've got some targets in the graveyard. And then the 3 limited dangers, Jackalope, Nessie and Snake. So these are obviously good extenders, good draw power, and they've actually come down a lot in price because they've all been limited. Okay, now onto the spells. So first up, we've got Void Apocalypse, which is a newer card from Eternity Code, which is an excellent addition, if I don't say so myself. So what you can do with this is you can discard 1 card and then send 1 Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is great. It's also got another irrelevant Infernoid effect, but it's that main discard to send. It's got graveyard control, it's got hand control, it's got search. It's just a perfect addition, and I think Infernitys have definitely got better because of this. So there we're going from some draw power, which is 3 Allure of Darkness, and this works quite well if you can banish Mirage and then get it back with Leviar. Again, it wouldn't be a Slobs deck profile without a spoiler for what coming next. And again, it's just some good draw power. So from there, we've got a couple of other kind of draw cards. We've got Card Destruction, we've got Into the Void, and we've got an Upstart Goblin, which is a super rare variant courtesy of Secret Slayers, which is nice to see a not super expensive Upstart reprint. So Into the Void, obviously, just draw one card, same with Upstart Goblin. Card Destruction, I've toyed around with taking it out, but I think it's just, sometimes you just need that kind of reset button. And a lot of the cards plus off from being discarded, all of your dangers, Stygian Street Patrol goes off in the graveyard, so it's just, there's a lot of stuff that wants to be in the graveyard in Infernities. So from there we've got a couple of staples. You've got Monster Reborn and Foolish Burial. So obviously Foolish Burial's got a number of different targets and uses. And then Monster Reborn is just a great extender and can also be used for recovery. So from there we've got our Infernity spell, which is Infernity Launcher, and again this thing is nuts. If there's one thing that they could take off the ban list for Infernities that would really push them into the next gear, it would be Infernities. And then I've taken out some stuff to make room for these, and again I hate the fact that it's a 2 of, but I'm playing 2 Dark Ruler no more. As you can see, I'm not running any hand traps, I'm not running Call by the Grave, and that's because it conflicts dramatically with the Infernity way of not having cards in hand, basically. So you can't play Call by the Grave, because if you set it, you can't use it. So if you go second, you have to be able to push through, and Dark Rule No More is the best way of doing that. So another trap section, and this time it's because all these traps are searchable, which makes them not terrible. So we've got 2 Infernity Barriers and 1 Infernity Break. So I've seen a lot of people running a lot more, especially the barriers, but I just think that once you've done your combo out, by the time you've set up a couple of Infernity Barriers and Infernity Break, and your other extra deck disruptions, if your opponent gets through it, then good on them. And sometimes people will get through that, but you just don't want to see any of these until you've set up, and they are just bricks. They're just bricks if you do see them before that. So I've tried to optimize making sure that you can seal the deal once you've got your combo off, but not die to the fact that you've drawn a bunch of traps that you don't want to see earlier on. Onto the extra deck, which is like most decks where the magic is really happening. So first off, we've got synchros. So we've got Herald of Arclight. So this is a negate, a macro on legs. Really, you're only going to it if you miss out on the chance of going to Borreload Savage Dragon at the end of your combo. But it's still a really decent card. We're then running 2 100 Eyes Dragon. So this is, you basically can banish a Dark Effect monster from your graveyard, and its effect becomes that. So you banish the Mirage, you can then tribute the 100 Eyes Dragon to get back your materials that will end up making another 100 Eyes Dragon, and in that process you get a search. So it's just excellent. And then some 2 final bodies for the finishing board, which is Void Ogre Dragon, which is a spell and trap negator if you control no cards in hand, and Borreload Savage Dragon. And again, you could change out the Borreload Savage Dragon if you fancy trying to go a little bit more budget. I think most of the deck isn't actually that expensive anymore, but Borreload Savage Dragon is obviously just a really good Omni-Negate on legs. So from there we've got 2 XYZs. So we've got Leviar the Sea Dragon. So that is excellent. It works really well with Allure of Darkness. So you can banish the Mirage off Allure and then Leviar the Sea Dragon it back. And then we also have number 60 Dugares, which can be a special summon, it can be a draw. It's very versatile, and it's a great way to get extra bodies on board. Dumping Stygian Street Patrol, go to your Link monsters. So speaking of the Link monsters, we've got Barricade Blocker, Knightmare Phoenix, and Gryphon. No, Knightmare Phoenix and Cerberus. So Phoenix is great in terms of trying to get bait out spell trap removal. It also protects your Appaloosa from battle, which is obviously excellent. Barricade ball blocker is a dump, and it can also retrieve back your Infernity Launcher should you need it, which is obviously good for going past the first turn. Cerberus, I think you could probably take it out if I'm being absolutely honest, but it's fairly decent in terms of a pop if you need it if you go in second. So then the only link 3 of I'm playing is Curious, which is good for the dump. You know, if you can get out your 3 different danger types or something like that, then Curious is an obvious one to go for. So there we've got our link 4s. I'm actually running quite a few of them. So we're running 2 Saryuja. So I think you could probably run 3 if I'm being honest. You run through these at a ridiculous pace once you get going. But it hunts for your cards. It's a special summon. It's the deck wouldn't run without it. And I think if Saryuja ever got banned, which I think is probably past its time now, I think this deck would definitely suffer. From there we've got Knightmare Gryphon, and again Gryphon's probably not essential, but it retrieves your Infernity Launcher or a card that you've lost. You know, could be a Monster Reborn or whatever it is. It's also, you know, kind of a special summon skill drain on legs. And then from there, the final card, which is Appaloosa, and you'll notice that the language is marginally different with my Appaloosa, and that's because I'm not going to pay £100 for a card. So I've got an OCG one, so I'll put the translation up here for those who've been living under a rock and don't know what Appaloosa does. You could swap it out, maybe for the Unchained link 4. But Appaloosa is, there's a reason it's a £100 card, and that's because it's really good. So that's the Infernity deck profile. So Infernitys are super fun. When you combo off and you feel like you could make your turn last for years, you feel like a Yu-Gi-Oh god. What I'd say is that it's never going to win a YCS. You know, in the current age, it can die to a single well-timed hand trap. Nibiru absolutely crushes it. You're not going to recover from it. And you're running a lot of cards where if you see them in the wrong order, you know, your turn can just end. There have been a number of times where you just end on a danger or whatever. But to match the awesomenesses of when you pull your combo off. I think there's very few decks that can match the fun of the Infernity archetype, and I think that's why it's kind of an endearing archetype to a lot of people in the community. So alright, well let me know what your Infernity decks look like, and I'll catch you on the next one.